Importance of cost control. So we're going to look at how our food service costs affect our profitability. The higher our cost, the lower our profit. Boom. Class is dismissed. I'm just kidding. Okay? That's all you need to know. No, there's a whole lot more. Yes. Oh, is it locked right now? Yes, I will. I'll make sure it's unlocked. Okay. Describe the manager's role in cost control. So we have, as managers, it's our responsibility to control the cost. Okay. The types of costs incurred, the importance of why is it important to control our prime cost. We'll talk about what prime cost is, and then the basic restaurant food cost control process. Okay. So 50 minutes, 52 minutes. Let's go. We got this. Right? I don't know how many slides. 24 slides. 2 minutes a slide. All right. Basic math. The relationship between cost and profitability. We've talked about that already. What is that formula for profit and loss? Profit and loss equals sales minus our expenses. So our profitability, okay, profitability equals our sales minus our expenses. That's the basic relationship between our cost and our profitability. If we can control our costs and keep our costs low, then our profit should increase. Okay? Now, one thing we have to be aware of, though, is we don't want to sacrifice quality because we're keeping our costs so low. How many of you have been to Fred's Fish Fries? Everybody did Fred's Fish Fry? How many of y'all heard of Fred's Fish Fry?
I heard about it.
What have you heard about it? It's a drug front, I know. Everyone heard about it. They had amazing Fiesta Menu last year. I missed out on it. But I finally was like, you know what? Let me go try this place. And I ordered a seafood little basket, right? And it was decent. It was frozen seafood that had been fried. Okay, it wasn't anything special, but it wasn't exorbitant pricing either. One thing I noticed is they had a chicken sandwich on there for $1. And I'm like, how do you do a chicken sandwich for $1? Well, I'd already ordered the seafood platter, so I didn't want to order more. So then I had to go back again, of course, and try that chicken sandwich for $1. It was like the chicken patties that you get at the elementary school lunches. Those little chicken patties that are compressed together. That is probably all the scraps of all the stuff that's on the side. And they compress them together to make a patty, and that's why it's $1, because that patty probably cost them 5 cents, maybe 10 cents. Okay? I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't too bad. Okay? It wasn't necessarily I'm like, oh, I gotta crave this chicken sandwich, but if all I've got is $2 and I can eat 2 chicken sandwiches, hey, why not do it, right? It's food in my belly. Okay? So, but we think about that. So that's how our relationship between our costs and our profitability is. If we can keep our costs low, then our profitability can increase, okay? So what is your role as a manager? How many of you are a manager or a supervisor in your respective places? Okay, Jack, what is your role? I mean, what is your position? Shift leader at Fuddruckers. Okay, awesome. Very cool. Which Fuddruckers? Where's Bach? Oh, in the medical center? Okay. So Fuddruckers, medical center. So what is your responsibility as a shift manager? What do you do on a regular shift in about 30 seconds? Go. Okay. Make sure the place doesn't burn down. Nobody gets upset. It's a better way to say that. Okay, so the food gets out on time. Do you manage that, do you also do the bar outside where it's the lettuce and tomatoes? Do you still do that? Okay, so do you manage that to make sure that that's all cleaned and stocked? Okay. How do you know when to put more lettuce out? Is there a policy for it?
Not really, but if it's super busy.
Okay. How do you know when not to put lettuce out? Good, okay. Yeah. Good. Okay, so why don't we want to fill it up if it's over that line?
It's like a temperature, airflow thing, and it's all the lettuce and
Good, exactly. And what happens to that lettuce on the bottom that gets icky? You gotta toss it out. Did we pay for it? Did we serve it? No, it's in our trash. Okay, that's our cost going up, but our profit is going to go down, right? So that's why we do those kinds of things. Yes, sir.
Okay, so say for example, like with Footruckers, when they got the salad bar, isn't that salad bar already the price already included into the meal that's purchased?
It absolutely is. Yes.
So technically, even though whether or not the person goes and gets it, that item is already paid for. So regardless if it goes to the trash or not, it's already profit, right?
Very good point. It's not necessarily profit. Okay, our cost is covered, right? But why waste that cost
if
it's unnecessary?
But
so here's an example. My sister worked at Little Caesars in high school. She was a manager at Little Caesars, and she was overseeing this new girl that was working there, and this customer called in 10 minutes before the store was supposed to close. The customer ordered a pizza and 1 order of crazy bread. That girl put in the entire batch of crazy bread that made 6 bags 10 minutes before they're closing. I mean, we loved it because we had crazy bread that night when she came home from work. But, like, hey, let her do that more often. I'm in middle school. I'm like, yeah, crazy bread. Okay? But with that, that's wasteful. So my sister had to explain to her, no. It is 10 minutes before we close. We put 1 in an order at a time. But otherwise, we're going to throw that food away. We can't put it in the refrigeration and use it again tomorrow. Okay? So understanding our manager's role is to control that. We oversee the operation. We don't sit in the office. We manage by walking around.
So for example, with what I just said to you, like, so what you would do as manager, getting closer to closing time, you don't fill up as much and cut back to where you don't have as much product left.
Absolutely. So Jack, do you guys throw away everything on that bar at the end of every night, or do you put it back in refrigeration? Should I hit pause for a moment while you say your... Yes, Jack, that's exactly what you should do. Okay, perfect. All right, so with that, yes, David. Of course.
And that's how you base that total cost in order to remain competitive to the person next door across the street. And if you actually, everybody did get a salad, 100% of the people that came through the door, then that cost would go up and you wouldn't be able to keep it.
So perfect example, exactly. So they build that there is 2 ounces of lettuce, you get 2 tomato slices, 3 pickles, and 3 onion rings on each burger. I hate onions, unless they're red onions. I'll eat red onions, but not white onions, okay? So if I don't eat my white onions, well, yes, you just saved 2 cents because I didn't use them. But I also took 4 tomatoes, and I love pickles, so I even put them on the side just to eat by themselves. So you see, that's kind of how things will balance themselves out. It's kind of give and take. But you cost it out based on a recipe. And if you're in a situation where, like Chester's Hamburgers, for example, that's one of my jobs in high school. When we're in a hurry, we're not putting like 3 pickles really nice and neat on there, right? We're just taking some pickles and throwing them on there. But if they can explain to us and they can tell us. Now, as a manager, if you just say, stop wasting my pickles, those employees don't care. Those team members don't care. What are they there to do? Work and get a paycheck. Okay, but if they don't understand why we need to use FIFO, which is a first in, first out, they don't understand why we need to do that. There could be something that you could do, like let's say, you know what, this crock of tomatoes right here actually costs $3. So if you push that to the back and they go bad and throw that out, that's $3. Oh, it's only $3, no big deal. $3 times 365 days a year. That adds up, right? That could be the difference between having a pancake breakfast at our employee meetings to having eggs and bacon and breakfast tacos. Because I have that extra money in my profit that I can give it back to my employees. Okay? So those are... I'm sorry? It could affect your raise as a manager. If you're not controlling your costs, it can absolutely affect your raise as a manager or your bonuses. So yes, definitely now, as a manager, people get managed and people lead in different ways. And so some people will say, do it this way because I said so. And that's okay. That's your management or your leadership style. But some people who, like, if you are, in my opinion, a true leader, you want to develop the people, you want to develop your team members and your associates, develop them so that they can manage on their own. That's the sign of a true leader, that you can let people alone and they're going to do the right thing. And they're going to say, hey, David, you put too many pickles on that burger over there. I'm like, it said extra, extra, extra pickles. I'm like, oh yeah, I missed that. But no, seriously, like, oh, David, you put 4 tomatoes on that instead of 2 tomatoes. They're going to catch each other. If you have that kind of, if you empower them, if you kind of instill to them, this is why we need to control this cost. Okay? Does that make sense? Excellent. All right, so in the interest of time, we're just going to jump right through this. So an establishment serves on average 165 meals per day and operates 360 days a year. So we're closed 5 days out of the year. Although business was brisk, the manager was concerned that the level of profit was very low. Therefore, the manager implemented a waste control program in the kitchen and reduced food cost expenses by 15 cents per customer. A nickel and a dime per customer. You can find that in the parking lot. Okay, is that a big deal? Let's find out why it's a big deal.
15 times.
165 meals per day times 360 days a year. I wish I had my phone. I'd be like, hey Siri, what is?
59,400.
Say that again?
59,400.
Is the total answer, or is just 165 times 360?
That's 165 by 360.
59,000?
944,000.
59.
59,400.
Okay, cool. Sorry. I didn't mean to question you, Seth. It just sounded really big.
It's all good.
Okay, so now that's 59,000 meals, 59,000 customers that we are serving every year by 15 cents. Now let's multiply by 0.15 and we get 8,900. That's a small car. That's a bonus for for a manager. You saved me $9,000. Holy cow! By saving 15 cents per person. That's how our cost can really be affected. Now let's take it one more time. Oh, let's add 10 more cents to that. If we can, 25 cents is $14,850. That's a mid-size car. I haven't been car shopping in a while. Okay. So do y'all see how this adds up?
Mm-hmm.
So it's our responsibility as managers to see how can we reduce this cost. Now again, we don't want to reduce the cost so much that our quality suffers. Because if our quality suffers, then our guests aren't going to come back. Okay? Do you have a question? No? Okay. If you have a question, please ask.
Is labor hours affected for the decision also?
So yeah, I mean, so this 15 cents per customer could be considered food cost. It could be labor cost, right? How many of y'all have waited tables before? Anybody waited tables before? I love waiting tables. I may even in the summertime go back and get a job waiting tables. It'd be fun. I love it.
They won't let me
Okay.
on the job.
So waiting tables, if you've got 3 guests in the restaurant and you've got 6 people on the floor, what happens? Gotta cut them. Go home. I only need 2 of you. Eventually, I only need 1 of you. Okay? So you gotta cut those labor hours. And we're gonna talk about that. Perfect segue. Fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable, controllable, and non-controllable. Fixed cost. What does that sound like? Fixed cost.
It doesn't change.
We cannot change it. So what do you think is an example of fixed cost? Rent is definitely fixed. I cannot change that in the short term. Okay? What else is fixed? Okay, so maybe your loan payments, good. So we're thinking from the restaurant perspective. This is our restaurant perspective. What?
Equipment.
So utilities could potentially be fixed or variable. So they might be a little semi-variable. If it's really hot outside, then we might have more cost in our utilities because we're running that AC. So that could be considered semi-variable. Yes, Jack. Okay, so if you have a food truck, those payments, those loan payments or the payments on the car for that, good. Think about labor. What is a fixed cost? And when we talk about labor, salaries, okay? It does not matter if we have 10 people walk through our door, if we have 1,000 people walk through our door. Our salaried employees are going to get paid the same. It's a fixed cost, okay? Variable cost, things are going to change. That change with the business, the volume of business. So when it comes to variable cost, when it comes to labor, what is an example of variable cost? Our hourly, or what we call wages. Okay, so wages, or our hourly employees, the employees we pay wages to, they are variable. If we're not busy, I don't need you, go home. Of course, you're not going to be that crass about it. Thank you so much for coming in today. Oh, have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow. Do your side work before you go.
Yeah.
Get those sugar caddies filled. Okay? So those hourly, those wages people. If we're not busy, start dusting those booths. Don't sit around do nothing. I'm paying you.
Do something.
Go do something. All right? My best friend Stephanie and I, when we worked at TGI Fridays, because it was super slow, like I would make $11 at lunch on tips for the whole lunch shift. We'll get into that later. But my friend Stephanie and I were like, you know what? She was in theater arts and I was musical and all my fun stuff. And so we'd stand at the front doors, and as people walked in, we were like, welcome to Fridays. And she was on one side, us on the other, and we'd like welcome all of our guests to Fridays, all 5 of them. And so that was our way of kind of staying busy so that we don't have to go like dust or do something somewhere else. We're like, oh, we're staying busy. We're smart. Okay? Hourly and wages. Someone said it. Food cost. Food and beverage. Those are variable costs. If we're not busy, we don't need as much ingredients to make the food. So if we're slow, I better not be making enough food. How many of y'all watch Kitchen Nightmares? Oh man, I love that show. I swear, about a month ago or so, I was in Galveston for the weekend, and I swear I was like on an episode of Kitchen Nightmares. I'm sitting there watching there. One manager is like walking around like he has no idea what's going on. Other manager walks out of the kitchen and he's like scratching his head, and people are sending food back because it's cold or it's the wrong order. And I'm like, okay, where are the cameras? Like this is gonna go down. Where's Gordon Ramsay? He's coming out any minute, right? This is Kitchen Nightmares. If we prep too much food, it's gonna spoil. If we order too much food, it could potentially spoil. We have to pay for it. That is our cost. And if we don't sell it, then we lose that money. Okay? So our cost is going to go up, our sales are going to stay low, and our food cost percentage is going to go outrageous. So semi-variable cost, one that's semi-variable is labor in general. Okay? Labor in general, because labor includes both wages and salaries. The term labor includes both wages and salary. So that's why labor is a semi-variable, because it contains both fixed and variable costs. So salaries that are fixed and our wages that are variable, combine them together, we have semi-variable. Controllable cost. Things that we have control over. Food, labor, beverages. Do we have control over our rent?
No.
Not in the short term. If eventually, you know what, this rent is not working out, it's too high, when our lease is up, then we gotta move. Okay? But we can't leave unless we're gonna break our lease. And is that cheap? No. I had friends one time, I interviewed them for a project I was working on for one of my classes, And they were convinced to open a second location in the basement of a bank building. They were told by the leasing office, oh no, you're gonna be so busy. All these bankers are gonna come down for lunch every day. Didn't happen. They ended up having to pay to break their lease, and they had to leave all their equipment behind. That was part of breaking the lease. They had to leave all the equipment that they had just purchased behind.
Plus paying the
fee to break the lease.
The equipment cost more than what the lease was?
I don't know.
Or stole it back.
Stole it back.
I got the receipt.
You're thinking, Alex. Or Alexa, sorry. You're thinking. All right, so think about, so there's that one lesson I learned kind of from those gentlemen was sometimes people are going to kind of play to your ego a little bit. I'm like, oh, you got a great product. You got to come open a second location. Well, if you can't manage that second location to keep the same quality, it's going to affect your brand. Okay? Anybody all go to Paula Dean's kitchen when it was over in Bass Pro Shop?
Oh yeah.
That's so gross. I know Paula Dean wasn't back there cooking the food. I knew that going in, but maybe it was just an off day. I don't know. But the food was overpriced. It was not good. Luby's had better mac and cheese. I'm like, Paula Dean, you're the queen of Southern cooking. Your mac and cheese better be it, right?
Mac and cheese.
It was not so good at all, and so that affects your brand. If you branch out so far that you can't manage it, that affects your brand. So keep that in mind. All right. Oops, let me do a little bit of erasing here so you can see. So as this looks at sales versus cost, so as you can see right here, our fixed costs, our sales go up and down, but do our fixed costs change? They do not. What do you notice about our variable costs?
Up and down.
Our sales are up and down, and our costs are also up and down in direct proportion. They move exactly the same. When our business is good, it costs us more money. We need to have more money in labor. We need to spend more money on ingredients. When our business is down, so should our costs. Our costs should also be down. Okay?
They should reflect each other, right?
They should. Basically like a mirror reflection. That's a great, I've never used that before. That's a perfect example. A mirror reflection, the variable costs. Then now here, the semi-variable cost, you'll see it kind of goes up a little bit, not the exact same, or it goes down because, again, that has that salary component in there. Okay. Oh my gosh, we got 30 minutes. Woo! Prime cost. Okay? This is important. Prime cost is our food, beverage, and labor. All three combined. That's our prime cost. And why is our prime cost?
Those are what you're doing.
That's what you can control.
Yeah.
That's what you can control. You have direct control over these three things: food, beverage, and labor. So that is our prime cost. For our food cost, we're looking at about, food and beverage, 30 to 33%. For our labor cost, you're looking at about 30 to 35%. 30 to 35% for our labor cost. Think about it this way. If we can lower our cost by 1%, okay? 1%. What is 1% of a dollar? 1 penny. So you think 1% of a dollar, 1 penny, that's not going to make a difference?
What you got?
If we can take 1% of $4 million, does that make a difference? 4 million pennies? $400,000? Is that right, or is it 40,000?
40,000.
40,000? Sorry, I got a little excited. $40,000? That's a whole other manager. Or that's upgrading your equipment. Or that's redoing your dining room. Or that's building an expansion, or maybe increasing your outdoor space to put in those giant Jenga sets and the big Connect 4, so people are going to come out and eat and drink and enjoy the outdoors. So many different things you can use that money for. So 1 penny matters. Okay, so now we look at this. This is kind of what we've already talked about with our triangle and our pyramid. I call it the triangle, I call it the pyramid. I use those terms interchangeable. So let's draw that one more time so we all remember what that is. What goes on top? Cost. What goes on the bottom? Percent and sales. Okay. What is the horizontal line? Divide. So remember that division line is horizontal. That's how you remember that. Horizontal. And then the multiplication is the vertical. This is an income statement example. What is at the very top of this income statement? What's the very first thing that we have up there? The category.
Oh, sales.
Sales. Sales is always the top. And sales is always 100%. Why is sales at the top? What's our profit loss formula? Sales minus expenses. So sales is at top. Because we have to subtract everything else. So yeah, I sold $98,442. Excuse me. But $31,000 was my food cost, my beverage cost. $32,000 was my labor cost. So my prime cost is actually $63,317. That's what it cost me to make the food, to sell it, that I brought in $98,000. What is 98,000? Somebody do that on the calculator for me. What's 98442
62.
minus 62,317? $98,442 minus
35,125.
Is that my profit?
Yes.
No.
No.
What's left? My rent, my utilities, my depreciation,
Yeah.
my taxes, my interest. So that 98,000, that's close to $100,000. If I could lower this to 31.7%, I get almost an extra $1,000 back. Okay? So teaching our managers how to effectively manage and control our cost is what's key. So the cost control process. First of all, we have to know what our performance standards are. We have to know what our recipes look like. What is spec? Have y'all heard of that? It's not made to spec. Spec is the short for specification. Okay. Specifications. Sorry, that looks really horrible. Specification. That's good. There's an audio portion to this. Okay. So spec is short for specifications, and so if it's not made to spec, that expediter, that person who's in charge of between the person that puts the line cook puts it up in the window and that server takes it out to the guest, that expediter makes sure that that broccoli is in exactly the right place. That potato is exactly the right place. And that steak is at the right place on that plate. That it looks just like the picture right up there. Why is that important?
Because that's what the customer expects every time they go.
The customer expects it every time. And it also controls our food process. It controls that whatever's going out is actually what needs to go out. That baked potato actually has the butter, sour cream, hold the bacon. I don't know why you would do that, but some people would. Okay? I'll take their extra. Sometimes I'm like, no, put their bacon on mine. Like, I'll take their bacon. Don't waste that.
Put everything on the side.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we gotta know what those standards are. My friend works at Anybody worked at Whataburger before? Okay. Don't y'all put like the pickles and the W on the burger? Someone told me that. You put the mustard like that? So that way you get it in every single bite.
Yeah.
You don't do too much. You don't do so all those things, there's 4 pickles. There's 2 tomatoes. All of those are specifications. One time I was at TGI Fridays. I was a student here at St. Philip's, and I was going through like the whole plate presentation lesson, and their desserts were awful. They looked so boring. I'm like, oh, I can make this so much better. And then so I would start like taking the caramel and I'd like squiggle it all over the edge of the rim of the bowl, and I would do the chocolate rather than just big globs like this zigzag. I would do a little tiny hole in it, and I would squeeze it so it was all squiggly, and then I put the brownie on top. My manager's like, David, that's not to spec. And I was like, I know, but spec looks so boring. Okay, and she said, well, you can't do that because the customer expects it. That's what I learned.
Expect that extra every time.
That's what I learned. That's when I learned about personal branding. Hi, my name's David. I'm Desserts by David. If you want a dessert like this, you have to come see me. Nobody else is going to do it like this. But I tell people, no, I even told my manager, I said, I'm actually using less ingredients. Because if I rip that plastic thing of fudge open and just squeeze it, I'm using a whole thing. But in this case, I'm poking a little tiny hole. I'm only using half the fudge. So actually I'm using less ingredients. Yeah. And so she's like, okay, as long as you're doing that, as long as you're using less, then you can keep doing it. But you have to tell people why you're doing it that way. Well, what does that do? That creates a personal connection with them. Hi, I'm David. I'm a culinary arts student. I'm practicing my plating techniques. Please tell me what you think about it. Next time you come, maybe I'll do something different. And you can compare and contrast, right? But you got to come back and see me in order to do that.
Yeah.
And so my manager, Kristen, could have been like, no, David, that's spec. You have to do it. And I begrudgingly, I would have eventually done it. I would have kind of pushed the limits because that's what I do. And so if I was ever a manager, I would know I'd get a little bit of leeway. I'll give you a little bit of leeway, but you still got to stay within the lines. Okay? Those specifications are crucial. Okay, 20 minutes. Oh, monitoring actual performance. Okay? So actually looking at my dessert. David, that's not to spec. What does that tell me about Kristen?
She's following.
She's actually paying attention. She actually knows what's going on in her restaurant. If you think your manager doesn't know what's going on, what are your employees going to do?
Whatever they want.
Whatever they want.
Yeah.
Okay? Another example of actual performance. Iced tea, soda. How much do we charge for it?
$2.50.
We're almost at $3 now. Right? How much does it cost us to make a glass of iced tea?
Cents.
10 cents maybe? If we throw a lemon on there? Okay? So 10 cents for that iced tea, we sell it for $3.
You're paying for the
We're getting a lot of profit from those items because we can't charge $80 for a steak because nobody would buy a steak if we're Outback Steakhouse. People aren't going to pay $80 for a steak, but it's a higher cost ingredient. So we got to make up our profit somewhere else in beverages. As a server, I was trained this way as a server at TGI Fridays. Don't put beverages on the check because then they'll just add it to your tip. Do they ever add it to your tip? No. They're always just like, ooh, free beverages. They didn't charge me. But what does Kristen do? Hey, David, I noticed that there's no drinks on the check for table 45, but I see 4 sodas. What does that tell me?
You're stealing.
Kristen's actually looking at my computer, and she's randomly pulling up checks to see if what is on that table matches what's in that computer system. She is actually managing the actual performance. Now, is she going to be like, David, you're stealing, get out, you're fired? No. Hey, David, I noticed that you have 4 sodas on table 45, but they're not on the check. Please make sure you get them on the check before you drop it. Okay, thanks, Kristen. Yeah, I just forgot to do that. Next week, if it happens again, David.
Happen again.
I noticed this again. If it happens again, I'm going to have to write you up. Oh, crap, she means business. She really is paying attention. Right? When your friends come in, TGI Fridays, we didn't have to ring in soup because we could get the soup ourselves, like broccoli cheese soup. So if your friends come in, oh, I can get you a salad. I'll get you a cup of soup. That's technically stealing. Okay, I've repented. I've moved on from it. But that's because I know better now. Nobody explained to me as a manager why it's important to put those sodas on the check. But if somebody had said to me, hey, David, how do people typically tip? By dollar amount or percentage? Usually by percentage, right? So if I put those $3 sodas I put 4 $3 sodas on there. That's $12. That's an extra, even if they tip 10%, which I always got 20. But even if they tip 10%, that's an extra $10.20 in my pocket as a tip. If I serve 100 people that night, that's $112 I get in my pocket because I put 4 sodas on each table. Okay, so if we can help our team members explain it in that way, where they realize the benefit of selling desserts, they realize the benefit of selling appetizers, not just because we want to. You know, same thing on Kitchen Nightmares. Gordon Ramsay had a thing where they were doing like a brand new menu. And he put up a $100 bill on the inside of the kitchen. And there was like a bingo board for each employee's name. And he said the first person to fill this bingo board, so essentially they had to sell one of every of the new entrees. First person to do that gets that $100.
Nobody did it.
No, somebody made it. Yeah, they're like, I got it. I ring the bell. I get the $100 because I sold one of every of those menu items. So what does that do for the morale? It boosts the morale. It puts a little competition in there. So those people who are underperformers kind of step their game up. Okay? Everyone's trying to sell things. Our customers are trying new things. Is that $100 going to cost us much?
No, it's going to actually not going to cost you anything.
Right, because we're going to make that up in our profits. We're going to make that up in what we're selling. So it might have a competition. Hey, whoever can sell 5 appetizers tonight, you're going to get your name in a drawing for 2 movie tickets. Did it cost me much? No, I went and spent $20 to get 2 movie tickets. But at the same time, if I have 5 servers and they're all selling 5 appetizers, or for every 5 you get your name in the hat, and someone sells 20 appetizers, they get their name in there 4 times, then that kind of boosts that morale, and that helps you. You're controlling cost, making sure that everything's going out the way it needs to go, but you're also incentivizing people to do that. Okay, so that actual performance. Then we want to compare what our actual performance is to our standards. Were we actually meeting the standards? And that's what's called a variance. Okay, a variance is just a simple way of saying difference. Okay, our variance is our difference. And there are discrepancies. If there are discrepancies between what should have happened, what actually happened, what should have happened. So let's say we're a steakhouse. Okay, and I go to my computer and it says that I sold 45 steaks tonight. And I go back to my prep sheet and I prepped 50 steaks. How many steaks should I have left over? 5. Now if I go back there and there's 3 steaks left over, okay, so my actual performance is 45. What I expected was 50, so I expected there should be 5 steaks. If I have 3 left, what's my problem?
2 and missing.
I'm missing 2. Okay. Oh yeah, David messed up. He forgot to ring in the temperature. I do that all the time as a server. I'm like, they look like a medium, or they look like a medium well. I forgot what they said because I didn't write it down, or I didn't even ask them. But I'm at my computer and I don't want to look like an idiot and walk back over there to say, I'm so sorry, I forgot how you wanted your steak prepared. So I'm just going to guess that it's medium. Well, with my luck, they're the person that wants 0 pink. They want it well done. So now I got to take that steak back, trash it, make a new one. So it cost me double.
Well, actually, if you got to upcook it, it's not going to cost you anything.
If they cut into it, if I cut into a steak and there's pink, I love my medium rare, by the way. But if I cut into my steak and it's medium and I wanted it well done, and if they brought that steak back to me with a knife cut in it, no. No, I want a brand new steak, okay? Because sanitation, you don't know what happened to that steak. They could have licked that steak. And then they put that on the fryer, or the grill again, and you got cross-contamination, okay? So you just never know. So to be safe, you just put it back. You just get a brand new one, okay? So it cost you double. You're only going to get paid once. Now you could do one of 2 things. You could comp the steak, or what's our other go-to?
Dessert.
Give them dessert, right? That steak may cost me $20, like the actual cost of the steak. That dessert cost me $4. Maybe actually even only $2.
Dessert was a good band.
Let me give you a cheesecake. Oh my gosh, cheesecake is
For that
so
steak.
cheap. Okay? I mean, no offense to you bakers out there, but dessert is relatively inexpensive. And so I'd rather give you a dessert than comp that steak off your meal. Okay? I would rather give you a glass of wine than comp that steak off your meal. Because that wine's not going to cost me that much. Okay? And so there's ways that we can still manage and kind of go into crisis mode, or what we call guest recovery or service recovery. We can go into service recovery mode and try to win that guest back so they don't leave unhappy. So here's some examples. Food cost. We could actually reduce our portion size. If we reduce our portion size, that reduces our cost.
You get more yield.
However, if we reduce that portion size so low and we keep our selling price the same, the guest may be like, you know what? I came in last time and my fries were this much and now they're this much and I'm still paying the same price? I'm not about that. Okay? So that portion control is really, really important. Food waste, monitoring our portion control. Working at Chester's Hamburgers, I was the grill person eventually. And my role was to drop the french fries and drop the number of burgers I needed to drop and start cooking. The expediter would say, hey, David, you've got 8 burgers and 4 orders of french fries. Well, my handful of french fries is different than, well, our hands are about the same size.
Mine are tiny.
Yours are, okay, remind me your name.
Christian.
Christian. Christian's hands are different than my hands. So we can't just say do 4 handfuls of french fries, 1 handful per order. I might grab a handful, and that's like 1.5 orders. Bless you. So what would happen is, at the end, at Chester's, we cooked our fries fresh every single order. If there were extra fries in the little bin, we put them into a waste bin. It was one of those 4 inches, 4-inch deep, like quarter hotel pans. And every time we filled that up, there was cost associated with those potatoes that we did not sell. So the preps would say, hey, David, you were really heavy on that order. Or, hey, David, you need to drop an extra order of fries because we didn't have enough to get through all 4 orders. So communication and controlling that portion is super key. Okay? Inventory. If we order too much, it could go bad. If we don't order enough, we're going to talk about inventory, don't you worry. But if we don't order enough, we're going to run out of product. And that's not a good thing. Okay? We already talked about. Everyone, take a deep breath. Let it in, breathe it in. Hold it. Breathe it out. We finished 9 minutes early. What? Awesome. Okay. Where are you at? I'm going to put on Canvas so you can watch it again. You do have an assignment in Canvas. It's called Defining Control. We're going to, let me open this. I'm going to get through all of these key terms. End of the